I brought her to my farm in an Amish neighborhood where simple living's value, she'd be loved and understood. I put her on a treadle stand and coaxed her wheel to turn. I felt her joy and easing with my study and concern. I cleaned her and I oiled her, showed her off to all my friends, repaired the hurts of years, and let her sew again.
Hello, welcome back to my workshop. So this video I am going to be working on painting and decorating this 66. And I put her into my electrolysis tank at the end of the last video. I'm wiping under my eyes because I had a mask on a second ago. I'll tell you why. But I am leaving to go out of town for a few days, and so I normally would have left her in the tank probably at least another day or so. But since I'm leaving town, I didn't want to leave her in there unattended. So I pulled her out a little bit early, and because of that, I had to do a little extra sanding and things to get off any residual paint. I can tell you that the Godzilla did come off amazingly well. I think that it actually comes off a lot easier in the tank than the regular Japanning on the old machines, so that's a good thing. So I want to flip the camera down, and I'm going to show you what she looks like. And before I leave, I'm leaving in another hour or so, I want to go ahead and get her all masked up and put a coat of primer on her so that she can be just kind of marinating in herself while I'm gone. So when I get back, I can put her color on. All right, I'm just going to put a clean pair of gloves on because I probably went through about 5 pairs working on this. As you can see, she is stripped of her paint. These lighter marks is where I had to come in and do sanding to get rid of extra paint, and I did the same on her wheel. The belt guard was pretty good. I just did a little finishing on that. I did a little bit on the bobbin winder, and her little stitch length, actually, all that paint fell off on its own. So like I said, it did blister up and everything really well, so I'm really happy with this. I think she's going to look great. So before I can put her primer coat on and leave her in peace, I do need to do a lot of work getting everything masked up that will not get paint on it. So I'm just going to start with her smaller pieces. For the wheel, I'm going to mask this top flat area off and this center area here off, so everything between those two will not get painted. I'm also going to be putting masking tape around this very edge. Even though it's dirty, that will, remain shiny metal here. So I don't want that painted. So let me get this wheel together first. So this is what it looks like, all masked off. If the edges are a little bit too far, I can just kind of pull them up and let them hang loose here. If I get a tiny bit of paint on a wheel where I don't want it, or somewhere that I don't want it, I can always buff it off, that's not a big deal, but I want to get it covered nicely. And honestly, I just do a whole lot of cutting, masking tape, trimming with an X-Acto knife, to get the coverage I want. So with this one done, this next piece, the entire thing is going to get painted, so this can stay as is. And the same thing with this. Now this little area in here is where that bearing goes. So I really don't want any paint to get in here. So tell you what, I am going to mask off just inside this area right here, because we don't want to add any extra depth at that point. Now for these smaller areas, I want to show you, I'm trying out a new thing, the liquid masking. So basically, when you open the tub, I have a quart of it here that comes in smaller containers. It looks like glue, and I'm just scraping some into a little container for me to use and closing it all back up so it won't dry out. We don't want this big thing to dry out. That would be terrible. Okay, but again, this is what I'm trying. We'll see how it goes. All right, so for example, I'm going to get one of my little dental tools here. And for the threads, I'm just going to get a glob of it on my little dental tool and roll it around inside my threads. I'm very hopeful that after everything is painted, I'll be able to peel this off, kind of like when you're a kid in school and you put glue on your hand and then peeled it off, or at least that's what we used to do. I am very hopeful that this is going to work the same way, because sometimes getting masking tape into small little areas can be a bit daunting. And I'm going to go ahead and try it in this whole little bearing area too, just to see how it's going to do. I actually have another machine, which I did not do videos for, but I have another machine over on my painting table that I have primed at this point that I did the same thing. So there we go. So I'm just going to let this dry, and hopefully when it dries it'll be clear. So when I'm painting it'll look clear, but afterwards I'll be able to just peel it off. So I'm going to set this somewhere where this is not touching anything and go on to my next piece. On the bobbin winder, I have both ends masked off, but right here in the middle there's a little post that you can see right here. That's actually part of the same shaft that is churning, and I don't want to paint that, but if I try to put my liquid in there, it's going to go everywhere inside of here, and I think that that's going to be an even bigger mess. So if you can see, I'm just kind of tucking my masking tape around it, and up here at the very top edge, I'm going to take my little X-Acto knife and just trim it right here, okay, just to trim that little piece off. Okay, so that brings us to the machine itself. So let's see if I can get this so it's on camera. Still learning my new thing here. Okay, so for this cavity, I am just going to shove some paper towel in there first. And push it down. In this area, I'm trying to get it up on top of the shaft up here, because these little oil holes up here on the very top, which I gotta make sure are cleaned out very well. If those get paint in them, I want to make sure that underneath that oil hole is a piece of paper towel, if at all possible. Okay, and I'm just going to leave this like that so that my paint can get inside here and around this edge, but it won't be able to hit the gears. I'm going to also come in here and put paper towel in this part of the cavity and tape from the sides all the way up on this bushing. So flipping it upside down now, I'm going to, my goodness, so heavy. I'm going to go ahead and fill this part of the cavity also with, you got it, paper towels. I'm going to fill it up so it's, fairly stout in there, so nothing's going to slip out as I'm maneuvering it around. Actually, before I flip it over, I'm going to put some of my liquid masking into the threads of this little hole. Up here, it's not threaded at that point, but it is a very tight clearance when the bolt goes in there, so I'm going to put some right there. But the outside part of this, that's fine to be painted. Okay, all right, let me go ahead and finish flipping her upside down here. I'm going to put tape around to the bottom end of this vertical shaft here, but I am leaving all of this unmasked because this is going to get painted. Over here on this side, there's a few spots that I want to make sure I keep the same clearances, and that is this little flat area here, this little flat area here, and the inside of this area. So I will just put some masking there. I see a flaky bit of paint that I missed before. I will be coming back and wiping this down with a pre-painting cleaner, and hopefully if there's any loose pieces I missed before, I will catch those at that point. It's funny, the cast numbers are on here. The bottom bed of this machine is cast number 22, and the top part has a different cast number. It is number 28. So I think that's interesting. But anyway, let me go ahead and mask this area off here. Okay, so now in this area here, I'm going to go ahead. Oh my gosh, look. I did not notice this before. I have a crack right here. Look, 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 look. You see that? Before this was really clean, I didn't see it. So I may be able to replace that, but that is troubling. Well, for right now, I'm going to go ahead and mask it off. While I'm doing the painting and everything, I'll see about replacing this cog. But yikes, I've never seen that before. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and, like usual, stuff this full of paper towel and then mask it off. And I'm just going to mask the outside edges here. The inside edges here. I want to be able to paint this flat edge right here, but I will be using my little liquid masking to fill in these little holes. And I'm going to cover up that little flat screw head. Okay, I think I've got it about done, and I've been playing with my liquid masking tape. I have, you can see, if you just wiggle it around, it kind of fills in completely the little holes, and I'm hoping that it's thick enough that when it's dry, I can just pick it out with a straight pen. I need to make sure when I'm painting these that I don't get any paint down here where the sliding plates go. If you can see this area. And that can be really tricky to mask if you just want part of this left plain and the bottom part, say, because I want this base to get painted in here. So if this works, this is going to be a great achievement, you know, to be able to do that. I masked over the serial number. I think I've got her pretty well set. What I need to do right now is just kind of walk away and let all of this dry until it is clear. And then I'm going to come back, wipe down everything with my pre-painting cleaner, which will get rid of any residual dust or oil or anything on it. And then I'll be free to go ahead and get the primer coat on this. All right, I want to show you, I quickly, after I got everything masked and the masking was dry, got the machine primered. But I need to run. I'm heading out of town for a few days. When I come back, I will do a light sand on my primer, which should be set up completely at that point. And then we can go ahead and start getting some color on. Well, good morning and welcome to another day. Our power is actually off right now, so I'm doing this from another view so I can get the light of the window in here. I wanted to show you, I have this machine primered, and I have given her a light sand with about an 800 grit sandpaper just to smooth everything down, and she feels very smooth right now. And then after that, with a cleaner, well, trust me, that's a clean dish. It's just painted on the outside from the past. I have wiped it down, and then I'm going to be going ahead and getting her painted in her color. So she is going to be a pink machine with flowers. We're going to be going for a lovely lighthearted feminine look here. And so I'm going to go ahead and paint that off camera. I'll be putting probably at least 2 coats on. We'll see how the second coat looks after that. If I still need more, I'll put on the 3rd coat. I actually had to turn the heater on in my shop this morning for the first time this year. So just to make sure that everything's at a good temperature, because we don't want to have any issues that way. So let me go ahead and get her all ready. Next time you see her, she's going to have a nice little pink coat. Good morning. I want to have a little talk about paint timing. So a few days ago, I did my coat of pink paint on the machine, a couple parts, and the wheel. Now, I just wanted to make a little quick note about timing, because I have learned the hard way that you need to respect timing, or else things can go horribly bad. And that's the word, can, because they don't always. And it's when you don't respect the timing and they don't go bad that you get a false sense of security. So, what has happened here is a couple days ago, I did my color coat on the machine, but when I was getting a good look later, I realized I forgot this little area. So I need to put a little more paint here. But that meant I needed to wait until the timing on the can, and all paints seem to be different. This one is 48 hours, the primer is 72 hours, the clear coat is different. You know, they're all different. So look and see how quickly you can paint your coats. Usually you have to paint all of your coats within an hour, staggering about 10 or 15 minutes apart, is what I have found. And then you can't touch it again until the time listed on the can, okay? So I painted it. I gave it a light once over with some very fine steel wool just to smooth it down and everything. And while I was doing that, I found a drip on the inside of this wheel. It wasn't disastrous, but I decided why leave it. So I went ahead and re-stripped the inside of this wheel, re-primered it, you know, with the primer. Now the primer takes 72 hours. So I cannot paint this until tomorrow. But while I was doing my little light sand on my parts, you can see it wore off on some of the edges, which, you know, it could do, and that's fine. So I'm going to be giving one more coat to these pieces. Once I have my pink coat on today on all of these pieces, I'm going to consider that ready for decal work. Now I am toying with the idea, I honestly won't know until I'm done, of putting a pearl coat over. So this is the right side of my machine. I'm going to have decals here, here, all the way over. And it's going to be more of a line art, a pretty line art. And I'm toying with the idea of putting a pearl coat over just part of it, like an ombre, or the whole thing. I haven't decided yet. And honestly, that's probably going to come at the last possible moment. But I do know that I can use this metallic paint over the one that I have on here right now, because I've done that in the past. So give me a minute. Let me get myself together, get this piece set in another part of my little room over here where it won't get me overspray on it, and get my last coat of pink on these pieces and the front of this machine. Okay, so I have waited the appropriate amount of time for the second coat, and I can see I still need to do a little more pink right there. But I wanted to show you, I put a little bit of the pearl on the back side of this wheel because it wouldn't show anyway, just to try it out. And the difference is this gives it more of a pearlized, you know, not metallic, but pearlized reflective, whereas this is more flat. You know, it's going to have a gloss finish and everything, but that's what this is looking like. And I've done that before on my Florence rotary machine, and it turned out really pretty. But for some reason on this one, I'm just not feeling it, so I'm going to leave her just the regular pink. But she's going to have the really pretty decorative accents and everything, so we're just going to skip this, but I wanted to show you what I was talking about. And, you know, pearl will come back and be used again later. Don't worry about that. All right, so I just put, you know, coats on a few more key points. I'm going to let that dry, and then this part will be done, and I can start decaling her tomorrow. Even though she's not cured, I can put the decals on, but just not put the clear coat on until the appropriate time, okay? But I wanted to show you, when I'm all done, I pop the top off of my can. I've got a can of WD-40 here. I used to wash these in acetone, but I found this is a lot easier if it'll fit. And then put a little spray of WD-40 through it, wipe off the tip, and this little end is all clean and ready to go for next time, so I can just, you know, lightly pop it up on there. So that is it. We're going to let her dry overnight, And tomorrow I'm gonna get started putting decals on her. Okay, so welcome back. She is out of her paint booth and I'm about to get started on decals. Now I did spend some time this morning taking all of her little masking off, and remember this is the first time I tried using the liquid masking tape stuff. Let me show you again in case you didn't. This one, all right. What I can say is thicker the better. That when you put it on very thin, it's actually harder to peel off than when you have a big old chunky plug to pull out. But it does come off pretty well, so I'm happy with that. I will continue to use that product, but you can't use it alone. You have to use regular masking tape with other parts. But for the little screw holes and things like that, all of these little parts, works great. So let me go ahead and get myself set up and I'll show you the decals. Okay, so I did get the other side of the wheel painted, but it's not here because it's drying, obviously. So I want to give you an idea of what we're going for. I am going psychedelic on this one. Well, it's like a cute version of psychedelic, I guess I would say. I have this sheet and this sheet. Now I was running out of clear water slide decal paper, and so I have another set on order, so I used tattoo paper for these two. It's kind of sticking together here. Okay, so these two are on tattoo paper. If for some reason that doesn't work, I do have this sheet is on my last sheet of water slide decal paper. Okay, but these are two separate looking sheets of different size to little fun floral bits. And I do have a little name tag for her, you know, like that. So let me go ahead and get these cut out. I like to cut them out so I only have like maybe a couple millimeters around the individual. Now this, it looks like one big section. I'm actually going to cut these out into 4 separate individual ones and then put this little star and heart thing on a separate little decal. Okay, I think I have a game plan of how I'm going to lay things out. So I have, actually I need to go get a microfiber cloth to wipe everything down first, because the last thing you want is to put a decal on top of a speck of dust. So let me go and do that. All right, so a change in plans. The tattoo paper ones, they are not working for me. I'm getting really gummy and just not happy with that. So I do have my water slide decals here that I'm going to use. This is the one tattoo paper image that I put on right underneath where the little medallion's going to go. I mean, it's okay for this one right here, but I'm not sure that I feel comfortable putting them all over the rest of the machine. I am going to be putting a clear coat over it and everything, but I guess I'm just used to my water slide decals. So let me see exactly how I'm going to come up with my arrangement, and I'm just going to get started applying what I have of those on here. off this one tattoo thing that I put here, and it's such a gooey mess. It's kind of like rubber cement and boogers mixed together. You know, hate to be gross, but that's what it's like. And I've got to get it all off because I want to put a couple other of these decals down here. So I'm going to very carefully put a little WD-40 on a paper towel, clean it off, and then clean off the WD-40 before I can put a water slide decal back on that spot. So this is going to be the last video of this segment. I am here in my painting area, and I have just put on the first coat of her diamond coat finish. Usually I will put on about 3 coats. I put on a nice coat, let it dry and tack up for about 12 minutes, and then do it again and do it again. But once I have that completely done, I have to just let her sit here and mellow in herself for probably about 5 days for this clear coat to totally cure, because once it's cured, it's very, very hard. But before that point, it can get scratched, so I don't want to do that. So here she is. I'm going to call this good for this video. Hope you like it, and I'll see you next time.
I found an antique sewing machine, forgotten and alone. I touched her rusty wheels and knew I'd take her home. I brought her to my farm in an Amish neighborhood, where simple living's valued, she'd be loved and understood. I put her on a treadle stand and coaxed her wheel to turn. I felt her joy and easing with my study and concern. I cleaned her and I oiled her, showed her off to all my friends, repaired the hurts of years, and let her sew again.